And our judge is Dennis Herman. And Dennis has been making images of both the natural and the built environment for more than 50 years. And though he studied photojournalism for a bit in college and has attended numerous workshops over the years, he is mostly a self-taught photographer. His own work is mostly project-based and exhibited in handmade books and gallery prints. You can see his work at www.dennisherman.com. He's a competing member of the Marin Photography Club, and this is his third year of judging in 4C competitions.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back here. I always enjoy judging and get my camera straight. Sharpness is overrated. I always enjoy judging in front of your club. I mean, you're a bunch of talented photographers and, friendly and all. I always say, when I'm judging, my philosophy is, I don't really care as much about the how a photograph is made. I'm much more interested in why it is made. And my whole goal in all this is to maybe give you some ideas about your images, but really I'm looking for the creative intent behind the image. And regardless of what I say or any other judge says, I always tell people to remain true to your own creative vision, because you're the only one that can, you're the best judge of your prints. And anything I can do to help you know whether your intent was communicated, that may be helpful, but take what you need and leave the rest. So with that, we can go on.
Okay. Well, thank you for that introduction. Creative, basic plus intermediate, one image.
All right. Well, creative is an interesting category to judge.
Grumman, A6, Intruder, San Diego. Sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step on you there.
That's okay.
Creative, I would say, it's always an interesting category to judge because, there's such an overlap between creative and pictorial. It's often hard to draw the line between the two. But it really is kind of another pictorial category with a little kind of extra zhuzh to it. So we're in the basic category, and this is kind of typical for what we see in creative. There's been an aggressive use of a filter to put a different gloss on the image than we might otherwise see. But what I enjoy about this image is it starts with a really good composition, and that, to me, composition is kind of the basically the foundation of a successful image. And the composition here is great. I love how you have the primary subject just coming in from the right side of the frame and filling it, but then we have this interesting light raking through from the back, and some people wandering through, and some helicopters in the background. So everything is, it starts with good bones to create an image. The creative part, the filter, I enjoy the filter on the airplane, on the main subject itself. I think it adds an interesting texture to the metal of the plane. I'm less a fan of this treatment on in the sky and in the background. And what I might suggest to the maker is, explore this a little bit more and see if you can, apply a technique like this selectively. So if you put it just on the airplane and had the rest of the scene looking a little more natural, or even bumped it down a little bit, it might become an even more effective presentation. The difficulty with an image with a presentation like this is you run into the risk that it becomes only about the processing. The people aren't looking at your image, they're looking at the technique behind the image, and the thing that hits them through the eyes is the technique. But having said that, it's a wonderful image to start with, and I really do love what you've done on the metal of the plane there. So nice job. Thank you. Next.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't see a picture on my screen. Am I doing something wrong?
Probably. I think
I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
I see it too.
I saw it as well.
I saw it too.
Mhm.
You have to turn video.
Creative, advanced, two images. High exposure.
Right. This, high key is a well known, doing this since the days of film. I think this is a really effective use of high key because when you're playing with different techniques, it has to match what the picture is or the subject that you're photographing. Here, it does it wonderfully because you have this the tilt of the dancer and the expression on her face is so happy, so uplifting. It kind of, high key is kind of a happy, it gives you a happy feeling. And having it in this image with the model smiling and looking forward, everything works really well together. So it complements and improves the image. So I think it's a really smart choice by the maker to use that technique. I noticed a little bit of drop off in the highlights, kind of in the, I don't know what you call the part of her dress that she's holding in her arms. There's a little bit of loss of detail right along the center there. And if you could bring that back a little bit, you might get a little bit more texture in there. But other than that, I think it's a fun image. I think it's a lovely image and well done. Thank you. Next.
Yearning.
This is what when I start out saying, it's difficult to draw the line between creative and pictorial. This to me is more kind of on the pictorial side of things. It's an interesting image with an interesting point of view, looking up at this stump with a lot of fungi on it, and it's kind of an interesting take on the image. I don't really get as much the creative side of it. I mean, there's certainly creative vision, but there's creative vision in everything we do. So it's a little bit, excuse me, more difficult to judge in this category. Having said that, I love the composition. I like the way it's tilting up towards the sky, and I even get this little I don't know if you guys see its profile of somebody looking up, yearning, if you will, up to the sky, this face kind of at the top of it. There does seem to be some sort of treatment applied to it, but it's not. It doesn't really add anything beyond what I think I might imagine what the scene would look like originally. So pictorially, I think it's a really nice image. On the creative side, I'm a little less convinced that it fits this category. Thank you. Next.
Creative Masters, 5 images. Floral Explosion.
Now that's the perfect title for this image. It really is a floral explosion. I like I really like how the maker, combined. It appears to be, I don't know if it's the same picture or the same flowers, but you have this nice bunch of in focus flowers, and then you've used this creative technique, this ICM. It's like a zoom blur, not an ICM, in the background to create kind of this psychedelic tie-dye effect to the image. And I think it works really well. The one suggestion I might make to improve it is in this image, the zoom blur kind of overwhelms the image because it's so prominent, so behind it, makes it hard for our eyes to focus on the flowers in the center of the frame. That's what you're kind of the center of your composition. Think about if whoever the maker is, if you crop that down to just a square. I often use when I'm judging in person, or I have these little things to crop. If you crop this down, you can't see what I'm doing, but if you crop this down to a square right around with just a little bit of space around the flowers, I think you get the effect of the zoom blur to really improve and pop the image, but it would allow our eye to kind of, it would reduce the confusion of the image and allow our eye to really focus on those flowers in the middle. So whoever the maker is, try that when you get home and see what you think. You may like it better this way, and that's perfectly fine, because as I said at the outset, you're the judge of your image, not me. But just an idea, food for thought. Thank you. Next.
Summer Blooms.
It's a beautiful ICM. I love the way that the movement of the camera has softened the colors and kind of turned it into this, pastel-y effect, raking from the lower left to the upper right, and it really creates a nice kind of pleasant, calm feeling to it. That said, there's not much more to this image other than the technique and the effect. There's not really a center of focus for our eyes to rest on. So while I like this image, I think it's a really fine example of the ICM technique. I think it needs something else. It needs another element in there for our eye to really want to spend more time with it, because especially with the movement of the camera going kind of diagonally up and down, it leads your eye. You start, from the dark spot or the light spot, whichever way you kind of go, and then you just keep going, and your eyes just fall out of the image. So think about, maybe even adding a vignette or something around it to kind of keep us engaged with the center of your image, keep us exploring, keep us interested in what you're presenting to us. But lovely technique, good use of ICM, and beautiful colors. Thank you. Next.
Happy 250th birthday.
Very topical, very well done composite. What I really, it's a couple of things that I really like about this. The square crop works really well, but the way that you've done the composite so that the flag is it's in the foreground in front of the fireworks, but yet not. You've toned down the opacity so that we see the lines of the fireworks behind it. So the flag is both kind of in front and behind, and it becomes part of the scene rather than so you have a lot of these wonderful layering in the image. You have the flag, and then you have all these different fireworks. I also appreciate that the maker didn't feel a need to include the entire burst of each and every firework in there and cutting it off on the edges of the photograph, which keeps our focus inside the frame because we can fill it in our minds with what's happening outside of the frame, and we can add more explosions and more light and more color. So I think it's really effective composition, really effective composite. Well done. Thank you. Next.
Where light meets the sea.
Now this is a really good example of how to use a digital filter to improve an image or to not necessarily improve an image, but to communicate what you're seeing in an image. And I think the maker here, using this clearly, there's some sort of it looks like a topaz filter with the edges to create a very painterly feel. But the filter that's been used here really works really effectively with the image, with the subject, with the capture that you've made with the camera. It's almost like a J.M.W. Turner painting here with the waves and you have this nice little curl of a wave right dead center, and that kind of holds our interest and grabs us. And then you have kind of the sea around it, but the use of this filter to surround everything just kind of elevates it to another level, and I think improves it beyond what your initial capture looked like. So very well done, very effective use of a filter. Thank you. Next.
What a strange, strange world we live in.
This is a strange world. There's something really that draws you in with this image. I love the really deep dark blacks of the branches, and then that neon green. It's not natural, but yet it harkens to the natural environment, and we can kind of, we kind of feel like we know it, but we don't. And sort of a alien landscape, but not. And it just kind of invites us to walk through the trees and ramble up over that hill side and into the beyond, even that look kind of purpley red that we have over the hill. Don't you look at this and you say, I want to walk in, I want to explore, I want to see what's going on here. The only suggestion I might make for this is I think in the very bottom of the frame you have a little extra. I don't think you need all that. This is my eye again. You feel free to disagree. I don't think you need all that land in the front. I would think about cropping it just a little bit. There's that stick that comes up, dead center from the bottom, and if you crop just above that a little bit, I think it might even bring us into the scene. Then the first thing we see in the layer is that nice patch of green and those really cool sticks on the ground, and that kind of invites us in. And then we have the patch of ground that then leads us into the scene, and then past and over the hill. But there's a lot of depth to this image. Again, a good use of post processing to put a creative spin on your image. Thank you. Next.
Critique, feedback, all levels, one image. Loneliness.
It's a really, really good title for an image. This image really does capture this feeling and this mood of loneliness. I think there's a lot of things that are going on in this image. I mean, it's a little bit, we're kind of, almost like voyeuristic looking at these two people who probably in real life aren't connected with one another, but yet the photographers did a really nice job of creating or suggesting a connection between these two people, and they almost become icons. It's not necessarily about that man and that woman. It's about any man and a woman kind of lost alone in his thoughts. I mean, the light on the gentleman in the foreground, it just, pulls us right in. You have the light on the window in his cup, but the light on his face, and then the expression. You waited to press the shutter until at the right moment when he had an expression and an emotion that kind of says something more than just here's two people in a diner. And then the woman in the background, in shadow, looking at her phone probably, but we don't necessarily read that as looking at her phone. We see two people kind of lost in their own thoughts, and it suggests that there's a connection between, or there should be a connection between them, or maybe there's a misconnection between them. So there's a lot going on in here. It's a really effective way of using photography as a method of storytelling. I mean, there's really a story. We can all look at this image, and every one of us on this Zoom will come up with a different story or a different idea of what's really going on behind the scenes or under the surface of this image. So the photographer's given us a lot to look at, a lot to think about. I think the composition is really effective. The maker has included, what needs to be in the frame, and has excluded, hasn't felt a need to show us everything, to show us the entire diner, to show us all the posters in the background, but has included just enough for us to get the story, and then, use that as a springboard for our own thoughts and our own emotional response to it. So really effective image. Thank you for sharing it. Next.
Journalism, basic plus intermediate, 2 images. The Dutch in Kuik celebrate their town's liberation by the American every September 18th.
In journalism, I'm a former journalist from way back when I used to be a newspaper reporter and editor back in the 80s, dating myself a little bit. But it's all about storytelling. It's really the story is as important as the pictorial qualities of it. And here, I think I can see this image being used in a magazine article about this town's liberation, about the celebration that they have every year to celebrate the liberation of the city. And so it's kind of a nice portrait. I wish that the captions are very important in journalism. I wish in this case the caption told us a little bit more about the person in the picture, a little bit more about why, what he means, why he's holding a camera, what he means to this town's liberation, what he means to the celebration. Because as it is, it reads as a portrait of someone dressed in an American uniform in what you've told me is a Dutch city, but it doesn't really tell the whole story without the accompanying article. So just a little note, a few more words in the caption might have helped. The other thing I'll note on this, for journalism, this way you really have to be a little careful on the post-processing here. I like the post-processing on this pictorially. I think this is just a wonderful image set up, but there's a little bit of a plasticity to the guy's face and to the overall tone that you've kind of maybe been a little more aggressive on the processing than is really appropriate for this category. I don't think it crosses the line between disqualifying it from this competition, but it's getting close to it. So it's just something for y'all to be aware of and to think about when processing an image for this category. But nice image, and I love that camera. I really do want to know. I really am curious as to what he's doing there and what the camera has to do with the celebration. So thank you. Next.
Reflecting on the past, Vancouver, Canada's marine building, built in 1830, was the city's tallest skyscraper at the time and is listed among the best Art Deco buildings in the world.
I can see this image being used to illustrate a story about the juxtaposition of old and new in Vancouver. And I think it's a really kind of smart choice for the photographer in illustrating that story to not show us the marine building, but to show us the reflection of the marine building in some newer modern architecture. And I think that's kind of the story of this photograph, or at least the story I imagine that this photograph would accompany. I think there's more information in the caption here, so I think you've done a nice job on the caption. I like the pictorial qualities of this image as well. It does kind of draw us in, because initially your mind has to kind of spend a little time to figure out what you're looking at, and that's always a good thing, as long as you can actually figure out what you're looking at the end of the day. So I think it's a good entry in journalism and a nice photograph. Thank you. Next.
Journalism masters, 5 images. Barrel racing gets a clown twist.
Yeah, well, it certainly makes you laugh, and you can see the barrel and you can see the steer coming around it. So it kind of, I can see it being part of a story about this rodeo event. That said, I think there's a little bit of what it's missing, what it's lacking is really an engagement with between the viewer and the photograph, because we see the guy on the cow, steer, whatever, I don't know, steer, I guess it is. You see him, but you're not really, you can't engage with his face because he's kind of looking down and holding on to the reins, and so he's looking at the ground at our feet, so we don't really get an engagement there, and we don't get a sense of movement of the steer coming around the barrel. So I think maybe, doing something different, maybe pulling back a little bit more or waiting until it's farther around the barrel so we can look the guy straight in the face would be a little bit more effective at communicating the story. But it's a nice shot that, brings a smile to our faces, and I could see it being used in a newspaper to illustrate the event. So thank you. Next.
Bull riding, one of three. The annual Russian River Rodeo provides lots of excitement. With a popular bull riding event, the excitement sometimes starts before bull and rider leave the chute. Two of three. The goal of the rider is to stay on the bull for 8 seconds, which is much longer than it sounds, especially without a saddle and with only one hand. The bull's goal is obvious. 3 of three. When the rider is unseated, 2 safety pickup men rush in, one to distract the bull and the other to assist the fallen rider out of the arena.
Okay, well, this is a well done sequence for the journalism category. When you're putting a sequence together, I mean, the temptation you could put up to 4 images is each image has to tell a different part of the story. So often in these competitions, we see 3 or 4 very similar images where each one tells the same story. But here, the maker's done a nice job of showing the entire kind of a chronological progression of the event. We start with the rider, in the paddock, and then we move to the second one where he's out there, and you have a nice action shot, which is you can move to the second one to 2 of 3. You can see what I'm talking about if you advance at one. Yeah, then you got a nice action shot there. I mean, that's the hero shot. And if this was presented in a newspaper, I would see kind of this being larger and the other 2 being smaller. And then we get to the third one, which tells us kind of the end of the story. He gets thrown off. And that one is probably the least successful of the 3, only because we don't really see the rider. It's a really nice shot of the guy corralling the bull, but because of the angle that you're found at, we don't really, the rider is kind of occluded by the other guy. I mean, a different angle, a different shot might have been able to improve that. But I think, given what you had to work with, if you're doing this all in 8 seconds, you did a really nice job of capturing and sharing the story with us. So well done. Thank you. Next.
Hudson Street Art Mural by Emily Dean. Sustainable fashion. Depicts a man selling marigolds. Textile waste in the background with thought to repair, don't discard garments. Javits Center, New York City.
Okay, well, this is kind of a difficult image for the journalism category because it appears to be, from the caption, it's about the mural, but yet the angle at which you've shot the mural is a little bit odd because it's kind of cut off at the right. You kind of expect it to be shot more straight on so that we see the whole mural in context. And then we have this group of people walking across the foreground, which seem to be unrelated to what the story is about. And it kind of raises the questions where, what are they doing there? What's the connection between the individuals and the mural? So I think, from a journalist, if I was an editor sitting in the newsroom and the photographer brought this in, I'd say, well, what else do you have to illustrate? Because this isn't the image that's going to illustrate the story you've told me in the caption. It's a little bit fuzzy kind of in the lower left and with some of the movement too, which also detracts from it a little bit, but it's a nice mural. And I think you've done a nice job in the caption of explaining to us what the mural is intending to do. And perhaps, the subject is fine for journalism. I think the photography or the photograph probably needs a little bit more distillation, a little bit more work on the subject to really find the photo that can effectively tell the story you're attempting to tell. Thank you. Next.
Mercy women of Ethiopia are known for their body modifications. When a plate is not inserted, the lip will appear as an open flap. Jewelry is usually made from spent automatic weapon casings.
Really interesting story and an interesting photograph. I think journalistically, it's kind of like one of those Nat Geo type photographs. It has a lot of, it's taking us into a world that, many of us may not be familiar with. And it does it in an effective way through layering, starting with the woman in the foreground pouring what appears to be a jug of water or something in the foreground, and we see the jewelry that you're talking about, or the body modification that you're talking about. And then it goes to the woman and the boy kind of right in the midground, and then there's even the other woman and child in the foreground. So there's a lot of layering here to walk us through the image, and then there's even another figure far in the distance. So it really invites us to move into the image and helps us understand the story. The spent ammo casings is a nice touch. I don't really see that reflected in this image, but perhaps I'm missing something here. But it's a really effective journalism story, and I can see it in a magazine like a Nat Geo. So well done. Thank you. Next.
Carnival ride setup, 1 of 4. The Wacky Worm arrives at the Citrus Fair in a custom trailer together with track sections and the drive motor. In just a few hours, it will be up and running. 2 of 4. Most of the ride is gravity driven, so leveling the track foundation is critical. Wooden blocks of varying sizes are used as spacers in the leveling process. 3 of 4. Once the foundation is level, the track is assembled. There are no cranes here, just 6 workers using ropes and pulleys and the brute strength of calloused hands. When it's time for the test run, and briefly, in the tightest turns on the track, 30 years vanish and childhood memories come flooding back. Cloverdale, California.
Oh, this is just a wonderful, wonderful sequence for journalism. I mean, this is everything that a sequence should be, because, as I said before with the other sequence, each image here tells a different part of the story. And what this one even does further is that each of these images directly supports the caption that you've given us and tells a part of the story. When we start with number 1, you have the Wacky Worm arriving in the custom trailer, and we have this picture. And at first you say, okay, what's this? And then we go on to the second one, and you've explained, now they're setting this track up, and you're explaining to us what they're doing. They're using these levelers to make sure that the ride will run. And we see the guy with the wooden block and them trying to level it out. So the picture directly supports the story that you're telling us. We go on to number 3 and the same thing. They're putting it up by hand. They're not using cranes. And you talk about the brute strength of the calloused hands, and there it is right in front of us. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys all pulling and lifting on this heavy metal equipment. So again, you're telling part of the story, and then you end with number 4, where you've got this great payoff with the 2 guys and their wonderful expressions. They're riding around the track, and you've also captured at the moment where both of them are framed perfectly within the upright bars of the structure, and then you get their smiles coming at us, and you even have the smile on the Wacky Worm. So it's just you may say, well, what kind of story is that? They deliver a carnival ride and set it up. Who cares? But you've turned it into something that we might care about. You've told us why we should care about it. You've given us a story and a little insight into something that many of us, whether we got kids or grandkids that ride the Wacky Worm or not, might not think about. So really well done, really effective sequence, really well done journalism entry. Thank you. Next.
Nature, basic plus intermediate, 7 images. Burchell's zebras at a waterhole in Etosha National Park, Namibia.
Okay. Well, nature, like journalism, is also, one of the story categories. And it's a lot about, the difference between a nature photograph or just photograph of nature and something that teaches us a little bit about nature. And we really look for that. This is a really nice photograph of zebras at a watering hole. I don't think the caption really is telling us so much about the watering hole or why it's there or why they're here. So it doesn't really help us understand much about the nature story, but it's a really nice photograph of 5 zebra drinking water. I really like I think that the 2 zebra on the far left and even the one in the middle are really sharp and nice. It seems to fall slightly on the right, although it might be my monitor. I'm really looking at the mane on the fourth zebra, maybe he's moving a little bit. And that's the part that, where I start getting lost in the image. And then we have the legs behind it. But it's a nice photograph of zebras at a watering hole. As a nature story, it's a little bit lacking, but that doesn't take away from the pictorial quality of it. Thank you. Next.
Rothres, Arabis blephariolea on mossy rocky cliff, Chancellor Ranch, Bodega Bay.
Okay, so I've always appreciate when we see plants or geology or something other than fur and feathers in nature, because nature is about much more than fur and feathers. So I appreciate the maker for bringing this image to us. I wish they would have told me a little bit more about why I should care about the Coast Rock Cress, as opposed to, this almost becomes a portrait of the Coast Rock Cress as opposed to a nature story. Why is it found? You could have written about why it is found on a mossy rocky cliff, and would the image support that story? It's a little bit hard to. There's a lot of extraneous information in the image. It's finely captured, but what I really like is the two flowers right in the center that are really well framed against that green moss. And I think if you kind of cropped in just tighter and got rid of some of the schmutz on the left, the green, all the green leaves, and even those other two flowers that are kind of losing their petals, and just cropped it over there. And you could even come in a little bit on the right, but I don't think you need to, because that rock it really shows the moss. But I think just coming in a little tighter on your subject, and telling us a little bit more about why we should care about this plant in the caption, would take it up just another notch. Thank you. Next.
Acorn woodpeckers, Melanopes formiciferus on Coast Live Oak Snag, Taylor Mountain, Santa Rosa.
Okay, nice image, nice portrait of the two woodpeckers. I like how you've captured them in their natural environment. You showed us their habitat. I like that there's two there and they're looking in different directions. It's a nice portrait of the two birds. It doesn't really show a lot of bird behavior, so I think it's a really nice image. I think it might do a little better in a pictorial category than in a nature category, but it's well captured. I particularly like the woodpecker at the bottom of the branch is a little sharper than the one at the left, and so my eye kind of goes to him. But I think it's acceptably sharp, either for pictorial and certainly for nature category. But nice capture, and found in Santa Rosa as well. Well done. Thank you. Next.
Bottlenose dolphins breaching while wake riding in Laredo, Mexico.
Now that, a picture's worth 1,000 words. This one is a really nice, this shows, behavior of the two animals in the wild. It's a really effective capture. You've done a really nice job of capturing two of these bottlenose dolphins in the air at the same time. The higher one with the water coming down off him, and everything's, perfectly sharp. The background is, shallow depth of field, so that the background is there. We understand the habitat, we understand where they are, the environment, but yet all of our attention is on the dolphins themselves. The only thing, it would be nice to have a little bit more room on the left, so that the dolphin that's leaping isn't about to leap into the end of the frame. But when you're capturing these, I'm assuming that's not a crop. I'm assuming that's just what you had, and that doesn't detract from the image, because in nature we kind of have to react in the moment and take what we can get. Really nice capture. Thanks for sharing it. Thanks. Next.
Handoff. A pair of white-tailed kites prepare for a mid-air food exchange from the male to the female. It is no small trick as she inverts herself to receive the claw-to-claw transfer.
Now, this image is what I'm talking about when I say, nature is really all about the storytelling, and it's all about teaching us something about nature and showing us, something about the natural environment, not just a portrait of a pretty bird in its habitat, but doing something, letting us understand. And this image just captures it magnificently. You have the handoff in midair, you have the white-tailed kite at the bottom accepting the food, turning upside down, and then you've told us all about your caption. It totally supports what the image is showing us, and the image is not just showing us a pair of white-tailed kites, but it's showing us how they interact with one another in the environment. So it's a really well done image pictorially. It's also wonderful, tack sharp. The light blue sky, a little bit soft clouds in the background that don't detract from anything, but show us we all can kind of see where they are or understand where they are, understand what we're seeing. But our focus goes immediately to the handoff, which is the point of your image. So very well done, nature photograph. Thank you. Next.
Bonipteryx, commonly known as brimstone, sipping nectar during the heat of the day, native to Gomiza, Vis Island, Croatia.
There's another really strong nature photograph because it's showing us, it's showing us the brimstone feeding on the flower, and we even have what appears to be I am going to botch this because I don't know what the thing is called, but it's proboscis or its nose or its tongue or whatever, the thing that it's feeding through the nectar on. And so we really do get a sense it's not just a moth hanging out on a flower, it's interacting with, or on leaves, it's interacting. And then we also see kind of a little bit of its camouflage, how its wings kind of mirror what leaves look like to help it hide from predators and whatnot. It looks a little bit I'm not sure what the actual color of these flowers are, and I can't tell if you bump the saturation up a little bit or if that's a natural color of the flowers in the background. But just keep an eye on that. It looks a little bit oversaturated to my eye, but again, I'm not sure that's accurate because I don't know this plant. But nice nature photograph. Thank you. Next.
Pacific harbor seal, Phoca lina, ricardii, spend much of their lives at sea, but regularly haul out on rocks and beaches to rest, molt, and avoid predators. La Jolla, California.
Okay, this is a really nice portrait of a Pacific harbor seal, resting on the rocks. The light on its head is very nice, and I love the kind of choppy seas in the background to kind of create a little dynamic or dynamism to the image. So it's a really nice pictorial image, and the maker deserves kudos for turning this into a nature image. This is kind of a good example of how you can turn a pictorial image into a nature image. I will sometimes tell people in my club that nature category is as much about the art of writing the caption as it is about the art of photography. And I'm only half joking. Obviously, it's not. I don't mean that 100%. But here we've taken a picture of a seal on a rock, but yet you've told us something about why the seal is on the rock, why it's resting on the rock. And so you've turned this image into a proper entry, an appropriate entry for the nature category. And then you have a really nice pictorial image to support your captions. So everything works really well together. It's a nice image. It draws us in, and it teaches us a little bit about the pup in its natural environment. So nice entry. Thank you. Next.
Nature Advanced, one image. Humpback males, Megoptera novangelae, are known for their acrobatics. This well demonstrates full body breaching, an amazing feat for an animal that's about 60 feet long and weighs 40 tons.
Again, a really well done nature entry. I mean, it both shows the caption and the image work very well together. It's showing the whale in its habitat. And it's just a phenomenal capture of capturing the humpback in midair. It's pretty sharp. You can see, you can see all the striations and the coloration on its body. The fin at the bottom is a little soft, and there's some blown highlights in the water right where it hits the tail, but that doesn't matter as much in the nature category because you're really showing us this, majestic animal in its natural environment doing what it does. And you've captured and shown us something that, people go out on whale watching tours all the time, hoping to see this, don't always get to see it. And the fact that you not only saw it, but captured it, you should be proud of that. Well done. Thank you. Next.
Nature Masters, 7 images. A wildebeest encourages her newly born calf to stand. The calf will form a strong bond with its mother immediately after birth, using sound and scent to stay close to her. Masai Mara, Masai Mara, Kenya.
Right. This is just a wonderful nature image, and there's several things I really appreciated about the first part. I mean, pictorially, it's just wonderful. I mean, you have, mother and child, all this, you can certainly see the connection between the mother and the child. And it's almost, on one level, you could say this comes out of a Disney movie. But what the maker has done, which really, is really to be commended, is they've resisted the urge to anthropomorphize this scene. If you read the caption, there's nothing, everything about the strong bond with its mother immediately after birth is talking about this animal. It's talking about the animal and the relationship with the animal. You see the newly born calf, you see the mother, and you can feel this kind of natural connection between them without having to turn it into a human connection. And I think that is really just really well done in this nature category. And then, we have the thing that really makes us pictorially, besides the composition with the mother coming in from the upper left and the baby front and center, are the eyes. You really, the eyes are really what draw us in, and we see the eye of both the mother and the child, and they're both kind of staring at each other, but yet through each other, they're staring at us, and that helps draw us into the image and wants us to learn more and find out more about these animals. So very, very well done nature image. Thank you. Next.
The Pacific madrone, Arbutus benzizii, naturally sheds its outer brown bark during the hot summer months, revealing a smooth greenish yellow layer underneath.
All right, this is this is really fine nature image as well. I mean, you're showing us one, it's not fur and feathers. Thank you again. And you're showing us a bit of the botanical world. You're showing us, you're showing us in the image what you're telling us about in the caption. It's a little chaotic in the background with the leaves and the light, but it's a little bit distracting and hard. But that's just a pictorial comment, not a nature comment. The only thing I think I'd ask, and this is asking a lot because you only get 200 characters for your caption, is to understand why, why is it shedding its outer red-brown bark during the hot summer months? Is to maintain moisture? Is it? I mean, I don't know, but that's the one minor point that you could add to this. But again, you have limited ability to do it. So it's a nice nature image. Thank you for sharing. Next.
Two lions, Panthero leo, sit out in the rain in Kenya's Oi Kenyai Conservancy, part of the greater Serengeti Masai Mara ecosystem.
All right. Well, it's a beautiful image. I mean, look at that. I mean, you got the two lions sitting there. You get really well captured rain. We can see them in their environment. They're both lying there, and they're staring. The female lion is looking right at us. It doesn't appear to be interacting with her environment. It appears to be interacting with the truck full of photographers taking her picture. So it's a really well done pictorial photograph. Again, in nature, I think it's fine. I think you've done, by telling us where they are in the environment, you've done a little bit to kind of turn it into a nature as well. You could to turn into a nature photograph, but it really doesn't talk about why they're sitting there or what the line in the foreground is doing or why they're interacting. It's not a whole big bit of a nature story there. So I think it would be, really well suited to pictorial category. I think it works in the nature category. It's just not as strong in that category as I think it would be in the pictorial category, if that makes sense. Thank you. Next.
Subadult, 3-4-year-olds, coastal brown bears, aka grizzlies, practice skills they will need in their adult lives to compete and choose mates. Lake Clark National Park, Alaska.
This is just again, this is a wonderful nature image as well, because we're seeing these grizzlies in their natural habitat, and we can see them practicing their skills and chasing each other and playing. And there's this great sense of energy and movement that kind of draws us in. It makes us feel what it would be like to be there and to see the bears doing this. And you can really get the feeling of the bears, the movement, because the mud's flying up. And even, the bear on the left, I don't even mind that he's coming out of the side of the screen, because he's racing into the screen, and his forelegs and his hind legs are kind of in that position that you can just tell he's like running, get out to try to get his brother or to get the other bear. I don't know if it's his brother chasing him, and the other one's like racing to get away. You just get pulled right into this movement and the activity and the habitat, not the habitat, but the activity of the two bears. And so it pulls us right in. And then the caption has told us what they're doing. So you've taught us something about nature. So, I mean, it's got everything. Thank you. Next.
Native pollinators, Bombus vonescensky and Osmia species sharing a zinnia.
You know, in our club, they say we should put the Latin names in, but when they read the titles, and you're free, I should have said this before, they say native pollinators, Latin name, sharing a zinnia. I should
I
have
went
mentioned
with the
that
challenge,
before.
but I'm not doing very well. Never
Oh,
mind.
you're doing a great job. All right, back to the image. So good nature story. I mean, you got the two different pollinators sharing one flower and capturing them together. And so you've showed us a nice bit of natural behavior in here. I'd like to know a little bit more. Two things. I'd like to know a little bit more in the caption about kind of the relationship between these two pollinators, whether why they're symbiotic or not, or how they come to share the zinnia. It's could improve the caption a little bit, telling us a little bit more about it. I think it's tough visually. It's a little hard to read the image because it's so hot. It's so hot with reds and yellows, and our minds and our brains have a hard time processing this much of those bright colors, and so it becomes difficult to really see what's going on here. And then the angle that you've shot it at, I love the texture on the wings of the guy in the foreground and the legs and the hair, and that's all. It's very sharp, but then you got kind of the hot spots on the back of the wing, and it's really hard to see the pollinator in the background. In fact, without your caption telling me that it's there, so I applaud you for doing that. I would have just read that as just another part of the leaf. The two green parts of the body would have just looked like part of the background to me. So I thank you for pointing that out. But it's just it looks like it was a difficult time of day to make this capture because you had harsh sun overhead, and you probably didn't have time to like hold your hat up to block the sun with that before these guys flew away. So with what you had to work with, I think you did a nice job, and it is an effective nature image. Thank you. Next.
A crested caracara brings food to its mate unseen that is nesting in a saguaro cactus, Tucson, Arizona.
Again, this is showing, natural behavior in the environment. It's not just a picture of a bird, but we see the bird in flight holding food in its wing. And so it's telling us again something about nature. And it's a really nice capture. I like, everything is tacked sharp. The light coming through the wings is wonderful. You've captured the bird, except for just a little bit of its tail is not kind of interfering with the cactus. So we get to see the whole bird. And I like how you've kept the one saguaro on the right, kind of perfectly, half in the frame, but it provides a nice kind of entry point and grounding for the image. And then you've seen the bird flying off to the left. And the other thing I really like about the image is about the caption, is you've told us it's bringing food to its mate. But you've stopped the judge from saying, well, where's the mate? You've told us the mate is unseen. You've told us that. I think that is just that little piece shows someone that really understands this category and knows how to write a caption to effectively communicate a nature image. But this is, really nice capture. And it's kind of a scene that we don't see often. We see birds in flight. We see eagles, with evergreens. But to see a bird here among the saguaro is not kind of your everyday image. So you've shown us something different as well. Thank you. Next.
Banana slug, Areolimax, ranges from Alaska to California. They live in redwood forests and eat leaves, animal droppings, moss, and decaying plant matter. Their mucus numbs the tongues of predators.
So again, this is another really good example of how to turn what could be a pictorial portrait of an animal into a nature image through the effective use of a caption, which is telling us not just what the banana slug is, but what it's doing on the leaf, why it's there, why it's feeding, and so this becomes a very effective nature image. And then the capture pictorially is very well done. There's a little bit of hot spots kind of on the upper side or the right side, I guess it would be, of the banana slug. But they've been effectively, the light's been controlled so they're not distracting. It doesn't interfere with our ability to read the image. And then everything is tack sharp, and you have this, the slug on the leaf, and you can see it eating. The only thing I like to, it looks like there's a little critter on its nose. That little green thing, I think it's a little critter of some sort. I'm kind of curious as to about what that is and what they're doing. I mean, that's another kind of place you could mine to again turn this into a nature image. But it's really well done. And the shallow depth, the depth of field is spot on because the banana slug and the leaf it's feeding on are tack sharp, and everything else is gently blurred to kind of keep it in the background and keep our focus where you want us to or where you want to put it. So well done. Thank you. Next.
Pictorial, basic plus intermediate, 8 images. Russian River, Jenner from Red Hill Vista on Pomo Canyon Trail, California.
Very nice, wide landscape shot. The pictorial is all about visual impact and feeling, motion, all that kind of stuff. And this is, it's a nice kind of landscape. The thing that really draws me in or draws my eye into this image is that wonderful little S curve of the river, kind of off there in the distance, and that kind of pulls us in. The time of day and the lighting isn't the best. You have to work with what you find when you're out there. And I love, there's a little marine layer in the background. That curve is going into the marine layer. And the only thing I might suggest on this one, because you don't have a whole lot of interest in the sky, there's a lot of blue there. It's kind of one of those robin's egg blue sky days. There's not a lot of interest there. And even the foreground, with that scraggly bush in the lower right and the green, it's not really adding, it adds a little bit of depth to the image. You might think about turning this more into a panorama crop and kind of coming down a lot of the sky and maybe coming up a little bit in the foreground, which would have the effect of making the S curve of the Russian River a little bit more prominent and pull our eye right in there, to kind of really focus on that as well. You can also use some dodging and burning tools to kind of darken up the landscape a little bit and maybe brighten up the curve of the river, and that might also help bring our eye into what or help your viewer, your audience, really kind of engage with what you felt and what you saw when you were out there on the scene. Nice image. Thank you. Next.
Desert Duet.
All right. Pretty flowers. I like what you showed us here. I really love this, the kind of the texture of the flower and especially the one in the foreground, that's sharp all the way through the petals and into the pistils and stamens. The one on the upper part is a little bit soft and becomes a little bit distracting. And what I might suggest for the maker of this image is, go back to that image of the composite of the fireworks and the flag, where the maker there, was bold enough to cut off some of those fireworks outside the frame. And you might do something similar here and crop it down from the top so that there's the hint of that upper flower, but it doesn't, because as I look at this image, I want to make, I want both of those things to be sharp. And I keep, I see that first image and I'm like, the first flower in the front, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool. And then I go up to the other one, it's kind of soft and it kind of distracts me. But if you crop that down a little bit and even you can even come up from the bottom a little bit to make it really about that center flower, you're really pulling me in to what you're trying to show here. The other thing you might think about doing is if you can, the whites on the white part of the petals, if you can pull the texture up, Lightroom has some really good masking tools. And if you could select that flower and try to bump the texture up just a little bit on the white, you might pull out some more detail out of those petals and make it pop just a little bit more. But there's really good bones on this image. I think it just needs a little bit more work on the processing to really make it sing. Thank you. Next.
The North American and Pelican Nebulae from above Mount St. Helena. Nebula images were compiled by stacking 612 30-second exposures and processed in serial. The total imaging time was over 5 hours.
Well, I mean, first off, the maker gets, mad kudos for the effort that went into making this photograph. The setting up the camera, made to take the 612 exposures and blend them all. There was a lot of work, obviously, went into this photograph. I don't shoot Milky Ways. I don't do this kind of work, so I can't really give you a whole lot of insight into what to do with this image. What I can say, having seen a lot of these images, the thing I love the picture of the nebula and the way that it's kind of the center around that star field is just beautiful. The thing that kind of knocks us down a little bit for me is that the light on the hills is just too unnatural. It's too gray, green. It's almost in a day. It just doesn't fit with the image. I think this image would work a lot better without that foreground. I mean, I applaud you for trying to include that foreground in there and showing it to us, but most viewers are not gonna. I mean, they're gonna care about the image, not about how much effort it took you to make it. And that, I think that foreground, that hill just really just detracts from your image. I would think about, maybe there's a different thing you can do. You have 612 images to play with. Maybe there's something else you can do in processing. As I said, I'm not the guy that can tell you how to do that. But from what I see in front of me, I would just have cropped that out, cropped it to a square, got rid of the mountain in front of it. And then the other thing is there's that hot spot, the white spot. I don't know. I don't think it's the moon. It's too small, but something, that one really bright white star is really distracting because it's just a white hole that sucks my eye in and pulls me away. I just want to swim in that nebula. That nebula is beautiful. I just want to see that. And you've done a wonderful, wonderful job of capturing that. And that's like your hero moment right there. I think everything else around it is just detracting from everything you did to accomplish that. But it's a beautiful capture of the nebula. Thank you. Next.
Fairy Tale Sunrise, Lake Bled, Slovenia.
Beautiful, beautiful sunset. It looks like you were up on the castle shooting down during a wonderful evening. You did just a beautiful job of capturing the light on the lake around that central island with that iconic church in the middle of it. And it's just a really well done. That whole center of the lake is just the payoff here. I think, a couple things that I might suggest, as I keep saying, feel free to ignore me or not. I think, the hills and around, if you could pull up, again, Lightroom has these really good landscape masking tools. You just click the landscape button. It'll give you a mask for the lake, a mask for the mountains, a mask for the vegetation, a mask for the sky, and then you can adjust them separately. You got to be a little careful that you don't get haloing around the edge if you go too aggressive with them, but it would allow you to maybe pull up a little bit more detail, pull the shadows up a little bit in the area around the lake to just provide a little bit more definition, a little bit more detail so we see what's going on, and also on the island as well. And then the other thing I might suggest is I don't think you need all that sky in the background. That the sky, you've shown me the sky in your lake here. And the lake is just so beautiful. The sky, the actual sky, almost detracts a little bit from the image because it's so white and it's so bright, it pulls my eye up. I want to look at the lake, but I keep looking up to the left and up to the right because there's so much white. You might consider cropping it down just above the mountains in the background. I think you get enough of the natural sky there and you take out a lot of the hot spots, and the effect of that is going to take your viewer's eye to push it straight down into the middle of that lake, and really that path, because the lake and the colors on the lake are just beautiful. So again, another one of those images has really good bones, just a little bit more processing. I think you could make this even better. But even as is, it's really well done. Thank you. Next.
Water and Stone, Steniva Beach, Vis Island, Croatia.
Well, I love this composition, and I like the really effective use of a super wide angle lens. You can see it's super wide because it's kind of stretching the rocks on the right and the left. And then you've composed it so that you have this nice figure. It's just tiny. I mean, it's like what, 2% of the entire part of the screen, but yet it's enough because you have not just the boat, but you have the figure and the one arm coming down on the left that just draws our eye in and points us right there, and everything leads in there. The rocks on the right and the left, or the cliffs, point to it. the water, even the use of the wide angle lens, because it stretched everything to the right and the left, it's kind of pulled us all straight in everything is pointing towards that. The only thing, a couple things I might suggest is that there's also a little boat there to the left, just to the right of the leftmost cliff. You might think about, removing that, just using the remove tool, but that's not everyone likes to do that. And if you don't want to do that, don't do it. But it's a little bit distracting. And then the other thing is there's some really nice reflections in the water, and it's hard to tell, but you have these beautiful rocks down in the water too, and there's a little bit they're kind of competing with one another. And I don't know if you were using a polarizer when you shot that. It looks like maybe you were, maybe you weren't, but dialing in that polarizer, you kind of have to make that decision when you're on scene. Do I want to show the reflections or do I want to show the rocks? And by turning the polarizer one way or the other, you can kind of make one of them more prominent. This one is kind of stuck in the middle, so that we have both the reflection and we have the rocks, and so it's a little disconcerting in the middle. But it's a wonderful composition, and I like the lighting, I like the light in the sky, and I like how everything's pointing towards your payoff image. So nice image. Thank you. Next.
Dust storm, Phoenix, Arizona.
Making art when you're stuck in an airport. I mean, this is a great image. This is kind of the thing that we take when you're walking around, but this is a testament to the art of seeing. I mean, photography really is all about the art of seeing. And whoever made this image, they're sitting at the airport and they look out the window, and it's such a simple image, but it's such an effective composition because it creates this nice triangle with this bright sun hanging at the triangle. You have the gangway is one side of the triangle, the plane coming in kind of is another, and then the third part is this guy walking to the left. He's just at the perfect moment. This, talk about a decisive moment. He knows you can have a decisive moment when you're staring out the window at the airport, but you can't because of this guy. Without that figure walking into the middle of this image, I think this image would not be as dynamic as it is. He adds interest, he adds movement, he adds a bit of a story, and then you have that bright sun just staring at us. But it's not like in other images, I know I've said, this thing's too white, it's distracting. That's not distracting because that's part of the image. That's almost the subject of the image, and it's coming right over the tail of the plane. I just think this is a really, really effective image, and a good way to use your time when you're stuck at the airport. So thanks for taking it. Thanks for sharing it. Well done. Thank you. Next.
Arc of Power.
This is a nice portrait of the bull, and I like how you've it looks like you've separated from the background, and maybe you've cloned out the background, or maybe you've just darkened it down. And so I think it reads really well because the bull is so sharp against the background that we can really read it really well, and we can take the image in pretty quickly. That said, the one thing that is a little bit difficult, and from your title, I'm taking it the arc of power, that which you're really, really called to in this image are those wonderful horns, particularly the horn in the front. And the difficulty, if that's what you're trying to show, I mean, I think it's a wonderful pictorial image, really pretty, is the horn in the foreground. There's too much shadow on the thing that's closest to our eye. And it's in shadow, and there's this shadow kind of raking down from the right. And so what we see is the bull and the eye of the bull and the face of the bull and the head. We don't see his horn as well. I would have liked to have seen it, with a little bit more light on the horn, and a little bit less light on the face of the beast, if that's your intent, if that's really we want to call intention of the horns. Because maybe that's not your intent. I mean, that's only you can say that. But it's a nice portrait of the bull. I love his eye, and it's really sharp everywhere, except for the tip of the horn closest to us, but the bull itself. Interesting image. Thank you. Next.
The Dolomites of northern Italy are spectacularly carved sedimentary rocks composed of alternating layers of calcium, magnesium, and carbonate ions, producing striking brown, yellow, and pink tints.
This is a really nice landscape photograph. I mean, the light is it's nice light on the mountains in the background. Everything, all the colors, appear very natural, very realistic. It really gives us a sense of place. It gives us a sense of what it's like to be there. Anyone that's been there, hiking through some of these trails, you find them in northern Italy or Switzerland. You really get a sense of what it's like to be here, and you've resisted the urge. The makers resisted the urge to oversaturate things and try to make them prettier or stronger than they are. Everything looks, it looks much as what we might see. It's kind of like, wow, I wanted to be there on the day that you were there. The only thing I might suggest, there's a couple things compositional. I like the composition with the two mountains kind of front and center. Had you moved over just a couple steps to the right, you might have been able to keep that tree. The tree is kind of blocking just the left-hand side of the leftmost of the big mountains. If you move yourself just a little bit and maybe moved up the hill or down the hill, you would accomplish two things. You would have stopped that tree. I like having the tree in the composition because it gives us an anchor. It gives us foreground. It gives us kind of layering from the front to the back and allows us to get a sense of depth in the image. But I wish it wasn't kind of in front of that rock. So when you're composing, kind of think about that as you're looking. The other thing is, this is less of an issue, is that little hut down in the center bottom of the photograph. I'd like to see that either more of it in or all of it out. And I think just by moving your body a little bit, zooming with your feet instead of your lens, is a way to kind of accomplish that. Those are, I don't want to belabor that point because I don't want them to take away from it. I think it was a really wonderful pictorial image. Very well done, very natural. You've taken me somewhere that I want to go. Thank you. Next.
Pictorial advanced 4 images. Sunday afternoon.
Well, yeah, it does. You do get the feeling of the Sunday afternoon, the guy with his fishing life hat, sitting there, the sun kind of raking on him, looking down at whatever he's looking at. You do have that kind of feeling of a nice day on a Sunday afternoon. I think it's sharp. I like the lighting on it. The one thing I really wish, and I think would make this much better, is we don't see his eyes. I can't tell what he's doing. He's kind of looking down. My guess is, in the world we live in, he's staring at his phone. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's fishing. You can't tell. But there's no sense. You don't get a good sense of his personality from this image. It's just kind of a guy chilling on the beach, and which is nice, and it's a fine photograph. I think, it's almost one of those things, waiting a little bit longer for some expression, some sense. Look back to that image we were looking at before, the loneliness, the guy in the cafe. Very similar. He was in a very similar position, very similar gesture. Different guy, different feeling, different mood, of course. But there was something in his expression, his face, as he looked down, that conveyed an emotion. It conveyed a sense of who he was. This thing, I think that's what's missing in this photograph. I think technically it's well captured. I love the shallow depth of field. The background is nicely blurred, but I think in portraits, a lot of it is about, can we convey something about the subject, especially when it's a tight crop portrait like this. Thank you. Next.
Color fields.
Oh, well, I talked before when we were doing creative. I talked about, how there's, it's often tough to tell the difference between creative and pictorial. And here's another example of that. I mean, this image would have done very well in the creative categories. Kind of fits that vibe of kind of a macro that we can't tell what it is. I don't know how it was done. It doesn't really matter, but I really love it. I think it's a really nice composition, and it's just, as a colorway, I mean, it's just a beautiful triad of a triad of colors, equally spaced around the color wheel. You got reds, blues, and yellows, which all work really well together. It's a nice little palette of color to form. You have the triangles, kind of 2, 1, 2, 3 triangles on the right, and then you have curves on the left, and then you have that big red thing that could read as a triangle, and then the black. It's almost with that head and body, it almost kind of reads almost human, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't matter what it is. It's just an abstract image. And then the bubbles that you have all over the place add just a layer of texture, a little layer of interest and detail that it kind of brings it up another level. It appears to be the bottom of a glass or something done with bubbles, but as I said at the outset, I don't really care as much how it was done. I just want to know why it was done and what the result is. And I think the result here is really well done. Thank you. Next.
Rastafarian tulip.
Again, I was talking about this this is a really nice capture of this tulip, but it's hard. It's really hard for our minds to process because, again, it's reds and yellows. Those reds and yellows are so difficult for us to kind of take in and understand. And I think here, the use of the black background, we just saw that with the bull picture we looked at. I think that bull, the black and the bull, kind of created a nice background, and we could understand, our mind can understand immediately what the picture was about. Here, I think the lack of context, the lack of having a branch or something, makes it difficult for our minds to read this image, to understand what's going on, because you have these four different layers of petals coming at us, and then the one that's closest to us is a little bit out of focus, the one down at the bottom middle. So it's kind of difficult. It's difficult to take it in. But it's a beautiful plant, and I love the texture, especially on the leaf, not the leaf, the petal on the lower right and the one on the lower left with some of the curves on it. It's a hard image to understand and to take in, and there's so much color and so much energy. It almost kind of pushes us away a little bit, if that makes sense. I don't know. I don't want to take away from it because it's a very technically accomplished photograph. I think you did a really nice job of capturing the flower. I think that the thing here to play with more is the composition. Do you want to show us the whole flower? Or maybe you can just show us one of those petals, or just focus in on one of the textures of the petals and really pull us into what you're saying. It almost has, it's almost stuck in the middle of that place between showing us too much and too little. But it's a beautiful flower, and what a great subject to shoot. I would, whoever the maker is of this, I would, encourage you to go out and shoot this again and again and more, or to ignore what I'm saying and keep doing this. It's your image, your art. Thank you. Next.
Miss Mumbai.
I love this. This is a good moment of capture. It's a good time to press the shutter and to show. And I really love how the red silk of the veil is kind of softening the woman in the foreground, and really kind of the way her face is showing through there, and the beads and the jewelry. And then you have this nice little, the bokeh, almost like the bokeh of the little beads within the thing. Everything there works really well. Then you have the outside. You have her hand holding it up, and you have some stuff in the background. To my eye, the stuff outside of the veil is a little bit distracting. Again, I appreciate that she's showing me the whole scene, and I like it. You might think about just showing us the woman and the red veil and nothing else, and see how that feels to you. Just a thought. You might like this better. You might not like that better, but it's something to play with and see how that feels. Her hand, one of the things that's distracting to me on the left is her hand's a little bit out of focus. She may be out of focus too, but it doesn't matter. Soft, because you have the veil that's naturally softening her hand, particular fingers. Again, because that's brighter, my eye keeps going away from her face and being pulled over this way. And that just makes it a little bit more difficult to read. But it's a really nice photograph, a really, really good moment of seeing, and a nice capture. Thank you. Next.
Pictorial Masters 12 images. Abandonment and decay.
Use of frames. This is just a textbook example of how to effectively use a frame in a composition, a natural frame, a found frame. Because here, you frame the abandoned barn and the wheat field out in the distance, and exposed it and kept the exposure on that really nicely. But you framed it. You've used as your foreground, and part of your frame is something that talks about the same barn. You got another abandoned property, and so you framed it in, so you're showing us the inside of the barn without showing us the inside of the barn, which is a really nice trick. I think it's really effective. I think and the color palette works really well. This kind of reddish ochre yellow feeling to it, and I love the kind of broken stone or flagstone, whatever that is, down at on the base. Everything there's a lot of interest. There's a lot here to keep us engaged with the photo and to keep our mind wandering around and looking. In the foreground part, it's slightly, maybe a little bit, I don't want to say over processed, but a little bit kind of saturated. You might tone that down just a hair, not a lot, but it's kind of just to pull that down a little bit because there is a contrast between the color palette on the inside and the color palette on the outside. So if you kind of dial down your saturation just a tiny bit on the front, it might improve. Maybe it won't, but just something to play with and try. Nicely composed, nicely done. Thank you. Next.
Into the Wild.
This is a really nice pictorial photo. This is kind of when we were talking about nature. I talked about, how, bird portraits or birds flying through their environment work really well in pictorial. May not be as effective in nature because they're not telling a nature story. And here is a good example. This is a perfect pictorial image. And what I like about this is because of the light and the way the light is hitting the bird or what you've done in post, the way the light is hitting the mountains in the background, we both get a sense of the environment and we get a sense of scale, and but our eye immediately goes to the bird. And again, this is like the guy in the boat in that beautiful land. It was in Croatia or somewhere with with the water, the super wide angle shot. Again, it's a small part of the image, but it just immediately takes our interest and sucks us right in. And it's just wonderful. I love the placement of the bird and where he is in the frame, because he's far enough into the frame that we can see him flying in, and we're waiting for him to fly out. And then you've got his wings fully extended upright. Everything is sharp. You got the ends of the fingers of the wings extended. So it's a really interesting image to see. And then you have the bird, perfectly framed within that little cloud bank, rather than against some of those dark mountains where some of his wings might get lost. So he doesn't need to be a big part of the frame, but you've kind of created a sense here. You've kind of created a story. You've made an image that, again, invites us to linger a little bit. So well done. Thank you. Next.
A sunset canvas brushed with clouds and light across a savanna plateau.
Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful sunset. I mean, look at that sky. Look at the sunset. Everything is, and the colors are just wonderful. I mean, it's the colors here. I think they seem to be very naturally saturated. They don't seem to be, they're bright. They may, my guess is you bump the saturation a little bit, but you didn't go so far as to kind of overdo it and make it look unnatural, make it look a little neon-y. So I think that part of it is well done. I love the composition. Again, similar to that Lake Bled photo, I would suggest you might want to get rid of the top part of the sky. Maybe crop it down to about just the top of that black cloud on the left, because I think, again, there's so much white and blue, it kind of pulls our eye out of it a little bit. And the same thing down at the bottom. You could even, if you want, turn it into a pano by getting rid of that tree in the lower left and cropping up a little bit, because there's a lot of darkness there, and I think you could get that same sense of space and layering and distance by doing it there. The one other thing I would notice is I think I was talking earlier about being careful when you're applying filters or using different masks. It looks like there was a sky replacement, or not a sky replacement, sorry, but a sky mask used here. So if you look at that line between the sky and the foreground, there's really significant haloing along the kind of the edge of the ground and that little butte right in the center, which is really which can be distracting. And I think all you have to do is pull that back a little bit or take a brush against that to kind of soften that. There's ways to deal with that. But that's the only thing that I might, in processing, just try to dial that back a little bit, so it's not so bright. You could really see it on that butte, which becomes distracting. But other than that, it's a beautiful image. So thank you. You're lucky to have been there. Next.
Lady in Distress.
Yeah, and another example of how your subject does not have to be prominent or take up a large part of the frame to really get your story across. I think this is a really well composed image. I think you have just enough water in the foreground to provide a sense of distance that makes us understand the scale of the Statue of Liberty. If you came in closer, we might say, why is that so tiny? But by including that little piece of water, you give us a sense that we're looking at it. You're bringing us into the scene and giving us the sense that we're looking at it from across the water. And then you have this wonderful sky. Look at the texture and the clouds. It's all about the sky and the texture. And there's been obviously some processing and some texture and clarity added to the sky, but it hasn't been done in a way that goes too far over the top. And you have this nice little band of yellow or golden light right on the horizon. And even the cranes at the port there at the far left, add just a little piece of visual interest in the image. So it's all pictorially. It's a really, really nicely done image. I'm kind of trying to look and see if Yeah, I think I was trying to see if when I was talking about the sky, if there's a little bit of lost detail, kind of in the center and that highlight, you might be blown slightly, but I think you might pull the highlights back a little bit to get more texture, but that could be my screen. But yeah, just a nice view of the Statue of Liberty and a wonderful sky. Thank you. Next.
Circle of Ancients.
Well, so we see this is a really nice composition as well. Those you get one of those fairy circles looking up at the redwoods, and you just get, you just can't help but tilt up. And I think the maker here has done a really nice job of showing us the sense of scale and pointing everything up to the sky, but doing it at just stopping short of going too far, tilting too far with too wide a lens, so it looks unnatural. Really do get a sense of things, even though they're all coming to the same point in the sky. They seem separate, and we can still get a sense that everything is rising. The saturation is, getting close to being a little unnatural, but I don't think you're over the top there. There's, those bright reds, bright greens. It has a little bit of an HDR effect where, the shadows have been brought up and the highlights have been brought down, and it's a little bit, the lighting is looking a little bit unnatural, but I think it works. I think it works for this kind of image, because this image, with the dramatic angle and with the sense of scale and with everything else has going on, I think it actually kind of fits well with this image and with all the different textures and layers of the leaves and the bark that you have here. So yeah, nice. Thank you. Next.
Stillwater View.
No, this is a difficult image. I like the view of the still water. I really like the view of the still water that's kind of in the center right part of the screen between the branches. But there's so much else going on here that it's hard, to focus in and take that in. A couple things, using, and we're in the masters category too. So I understand, I assume, whoever made this understands all these things. So I was looking at this for a while and trying to figure, okay, what was the intent behind the image? What were you trying to show me here? Because compositionally, it's breaking a few rules. And so I was trying to understand why, but I can't get there. That's just probably a failing on my part, to understand. A few things I would look at, maybe crop in from the left, use that strong tree in the middle, or at the left to be kind of the anchor on the left of the image to keep us in. Then you have a nice frame between that branch of the tree and then the green tree on the other side. Use a longer lens to really focus in on those wonderful reflections. Add a little bit more contrast, play with the shadows and the highlights a little bit to kind of bump up, create a little bit more contrast and dynamism for the image. But as it is, I'm having a difficult time understanding the intent behind the image and what it is you're asking me to look at. Thank you. Next.
There's a storm a coming.
There certainly is. This is just all about mood. I mean, this is just, I've talked before about how sometimes colors can be a little unnatural, and here they are a little unnatural. There's this little kind of tealish turquoise sky and this kind of bright golden, but it all works because it all enhances and it helps tell the story that the maker is trying to communicate to us. And it's all this storms that come. It's like a dystopian view. You have this dystopian view of the storm coming in, and it's dark, and then right where we're heading, we got that wonderful fence line that just leads us right into the image. We look at this image, first thing our eye sees is that fence, and that fence just boom pulls us right into that image, and then there we are in the dark in the middle of the storm. But we have this little golden light off to the left that's kind of like a hint of better days coming or something. I don't know. It's just it really does give a nice kind of moody feel of a stormy day, and a little bit tells me a little bit, says a little bit to me about the times we're living. It's a good it's a good it's a good image for our current political environment. Thank you. Next. I'm not supposed to say that. I retract that. Sorry.
My masterpiece.
It's a really, really well composed image. I like the gestures of the hands of the makeup artist. You know, we don't see the makeup artist, but through her hands, we get a really good sense. It's almost a really good portrait of the makeup artist as well as much as it is a portrait of the girl getting her face painted, just because of the gesture of her hands. And you've captured it at the right moment where, you know, the left hand is cradling the child's chin, and then the right or the left hand is cradling, and the right hand with the brush. You know, it's even in that perfect moment where it kind of talks to that image or that um, the ink jar in the background, and then you have really well composed. There's a lot of thought went into this image, and then the brushes and everything to the right, and then we have this wonderful face paint job and on the child's face, and her hair is everything is tack sharp, everything is really well done. The one thing I think is lacking a little bit is the expression on the child doesn't seem to match the joy, the beauty of her face. She's and you can't, kids are kids, they're gonna act like they are, but you'd almost want to see a little bit more of a smile, a little bit more emotion in the child, something more. And I apologize if this is your kid or your grandkid. Please don't take offense. But it's a little bit, her eyes are a little bit dead. There's a little bit of dead eye here, the way she's looking at the camera. And I want to see a little bit more life in her face that I'm getting from this image, because everything else is working really, really well in this image. I just want to see just a little more life in the face, a little bit more expression, a little bit more sense of who this child is, because she's the center of the image, and maybe brightening up the eyes would do it. I don't know. So I apologize again if that's your grandkid, that's your kid. I'm saying nothing about the child. I'm talking only about the moment of capture. Thank you. Next.
First light, where the High Sierra keeps still.
Again, nice. This is, similar to that image from the Northern Italian Alps that we saw before. Beautiful light. It's kind of brings us into a place that we want to be, and it reminds me of backpacking in the Sierras, and waking up and seeing scenes like this and having it all to yourself, and you really do get a sense of isolation, a sense of stillness. And again, there's these wonderful layers that move through the image. The light on the rocks to the right and just past on the opposite shore of the lake from where we're standing is really nice. And then you get kind of those repeating patterns that take us into the distance with a little less light on the hills in the distance. Everything is really well composed. It's a little bit, the only thing, it's getting a little bit crunchy to my eye, particularly on these trees in the foreground. I can't tell if that's from the processing or that's just the way the light is hitting those, but there's a little bit because it may just be the light is so harsh, particularly on those two trees to the right, kind of just beyond the rocks on the lower right, are a little bit difficult. I don't know if there's anything you can do to kind of play with those, but everywhere else is just beautiful. I love the light and the wispy clouds in the sky. It all works really well. I want to go jump in that light. Thank you. Next, maybe some of you want me to.
Portrait of a Boy, Ethiopia.
All right, now this is just, what a wonderful portrait. I mean, this is when I talked a little bit earlier about the girl getting her face painted, and then I compare that to the guy. Look at the eye, compare the eyes in this image and the expression on the face in this image to that image, and that's kind of what I'm talking about here. The kid is looking directly at us, and you get a real sense of who this kid is. You get a sense of him as a feeling of this guy. It's just really wonderfully exposed. But the thing that really makes this image for me is the communicating the person on the other side of the camera. I mean, it's just there's that art to portraiture where like you look at Annie Leibovitz's photographs and portraits, and the reason that hers work so well is because she managed to engage in her subject or get her subject to show some emotion and bring it out. And this is kind of in that character. This is in that line of portraiture. And so, compositionally, it all works really well. I mean, you've got the tattoos burned into his his shoulder and his chest that are exposed, but they're softly focused so that our eye doesn't dwell on those, but we look right at the face, and we're just drawn into those eyes. I mean, you look at this image, it's really hard to look away from those eyes. And then he has the expression on his face, and then the headdress that he's wearing all creates kind of a nice little nest or a nice little blanket to kind of keep us in the scene. Everything works really well, perfectly composed. Nothing I can say about this image. I just love it. It's wonderful, wonderful image. Very well done. You should print this up and put it on your wall. Thank you. Next.
Springtime hues of pink in flight.
Nice, beautiful portrait of a hummingbird. Nicely captured in flight. I don't mind some people like the really tack sharp wings. I don't mind them. I like that there's some blur on the wings in this guy because you get a sense of movement. These guys move so quickly that I kind of prefer this type of hummingbird portrait to the kind of tack sharp, where you see every piece of the feather. I also like that the neck of the hummingbird is also matching the hue, or it's in the same vein as the hue on the flowers in the background. I might, crop in just a little bit from the left side, but maybe not. I mean, I take that back. That was my thought when I was previewing these earlier, but as I look at them now, I think the composition is just fine. I think everything works really well, and I think it's a really nice portrait of a hummingbird. Nice capture. Thank you. Next.
A different point of view. St.
Oh.
Patrick's Cathedral, New York.
I love images like this. This is a really good attempt at this kind of image. I like the texture and the detail that you pulled in. I love the way that you've managed the light on the stained glass windows with the light on the interior, which is not easy to do. Probably a little bit of HDR type technique here. Maybe it wasn't HDR. Maybe you're just playing with the shadows and highlights to make it work. It's just a little bit. The biggest flaw in the image is it's just not perfectly straight. When you're doing images like this, you got to get those lines just perfectly straight. You can kind of see it on the stained glass window to the left, where it's coming up. You kind of want it's almost like you stand there in the middle. You're holding your camera out, and you flip the little view screen down to kind of get it. And every little movement you make, everything goes out of whack. And it's so hard to get it in. The tell is in that window, and in the light straight above us, it's a little hot. I like the exposure on the lights that are coming, all the others except the one right dead center. And that should be coming directly down center to us because it's hanging from where those 4 points come together, but it's a little bit up to the left. And you really just have to stand there and play with it to get it as sharp as you can. And you probably did this, you use the transform tool in Lightroom or in Photoshop, if that's your jam, you do it there. But this is a really well done. It's a really, really good attempt at making this photo. It's just a little bit short of perfection, but I really like it. I love all the lines. I like the exposure. Your eye can wander around here over and over again, looking at all these wonderful lights and stuff. So there's nothing to take away from what you've done here. Just a few comments on the next time you go out there. Thank you. Next. Oh,
we have covered all of the images. We'll take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and show the winners.
Good segue.
And Steve, are you going to take us through these?
Yeah. Creative, basic plus intermediate, one image, first place.
Get my cursor right.
Stephen.
Should have guessed
MT.
that was Stevens. Yeah.
M key.
M key?
That's
Metadata.
he's telling me to bring the metadata up. I can always
wow.
find it.
That's with an iPhone. Interesting.
Yeah, exactly. He does a lot with his iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really well done. I think that being almost dual tone, maybe there's 3 with the yellow, it calms down the higher processing. I think
Mm.
it's really effective.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's great.
Congratulations to Stephen. Creative Advance, 2 images. Second place, Trisha.
Thank you. Now that I've seen my 2 images, they both are in the wrong place. But
Oh,
thanks anyway.
this, I can see the face though.
Yeah, it's a woman who's yearning, and I love the image. And if I guess I can't enter it again. I wish I'd put it in Pictorial. Oh well.
You got second.
Yeah.
C'est la vie. Congratulations.
Thank you.
First place,
Oh, I love this.
Ellen.
Yeah, Ellen, cool.
Really gorgeous.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I did this a while back and I had 4 dancers and I always liked it. It didn't win anything the first time. And I decided just to cut it down to the 1 dancer.
I know, I recognized her.
Her face is just gorgeous in this high key. Just really beautiful.
Very happy.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was a color photo, and the high exposure is added later.
Oh, taken
Nice.
away.
So to speak. Yeah.
Congratulations. Creative Masters, 3 images. Third place, Linda.
I guessed.
Yeah.
Nice.
She'll be happy. I know she's not here tonight.
Congratulations to Linda. Second place, Gary.
Nice, Gary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very cool image.
Right.
Yeah, that was
Very cool. Yes.
this is a bouquet of fireworks. I took it's probably got about 6 different layers to it. The flag,
Really good.
and
Wow.
and there's 3 or 4 different starbursts that were combined into the image to try to make lively kind of a look to it. Yeah.
Very nicely done.
No, thank you.
Impressive.
With adding the flag.
Congratulations. First place, Anne.
All right, Anne.
Yeah.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. I don't know, just playing around with different filters.
On
And
your
then
phone,
putting
right?
it into Snapseed and tweaking it, tweaking the colors and stuff. So
Beauty.
thank
The
you.
treatment is lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's magical.
You could print that one.
Escape.
That's escape. A sea.
Yes.
Escape.
Escape?
It's a seascape.
It's
It sure
escape.
is.
Yes, escape.
Congratulations. Journalism, basic plus intermediate, 2 images. Second place, Stephen.
He's not here.
Yeah, so we can't question him about what that guy is.
And what camera it is.
Yeah, what camera?
Nice going, Stephen.
Great image.
It's a good composition, really.
Uh-huh.
Right.
Maybe he'll see the YouTube and email all of us with what.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Congratulations to Stephen. First place, Martin.
Oh, Martin.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Love that image. I think it's great.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's ugly.
Oh.
That was a beautiful trick.
Hold on.
You've got too many microphones and too much. You've got a feedback loop going on.
You might
Try muting yourself.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Thank you.
Sorry, Marty.
You've got a feedback loop going on with more than one microphone and more than one output. So it picks up one and then the second one repeats it. And when it repeats it, it goes back into the first one and it just loops round and round and round.
But that's a great image.
Yep, it is.
Really nice. Yeah. Yeah. What a novel way of doing that.
Yeah, well seen.
A good title too, really talks about it.
I really wanted to see what the Deco building is because I'm very much into Art Deco. So I'm very curious about that.
That's it right there.
It says the Marine Building.
Yeah. Canada's Marine Building.
The brown and yellow one.
Well, I meant I'm really curious about seeing it.
Ah.
Google is your friend.
Oh, he wants to go there.
Yeah, Vancouver's
I'm
not
being a
that
smart
far.
ass.
Congratulations. Journalism Masters, 3 images, 3rd place. Jennifer.
Oh, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a fun rodeo. But it was really packed. It was hard to move around to get the images that I wanted. But thank you, and thank you for the critique.
Great images.
Great shot.
Yeah, really neat.
I just wish I could have gotten the fallen rider better. I had better pictures of the fallen rider, but it didn't show the 2 pickup men that I really wanted to show.
He's in the midst of the dirt.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
2nd place. Tamara.
Oh, it's a great image too.
Yeah.
I love it.
I wonder what they do with their skin. Kind of interesting.
Yeah, that to make it scar up like that.
It looks like it isn't very comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when
So
they
much
made it.
going on in this picture, you know. You look around, even the background, you know, you see what's.
Yes. Very interesting.
Congratulations to Tamara. 1st place.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good-
this is
Wonderful
amazing, Bill.
series.
Hi,
Thank
some
you.
Bill.
Wonderful series.
So I had to thank,
Patience to take all of those stages through the hours of setting it up. Wow.
I had the good fortune of tagging after Tim Allen. Tim Allen has photographed for the journals of these various carnivals.
Ah,
So he had access and he invited me to go with him. So
Oh, wonderful.
I'm really
nice.
grateful for him taking me there.
Yeah, that's nice. Very nice.
Where was this?
This was the citrus fair in Cloverdale.
Okay, great. Amazing. Just very, very well done.
I like the last picture.
I do too. Here, these guys have probably done this hundreds of times, but they're getting such a kick out of it.
They still do.
Exactly.
Whee!
Every one of them. There's a third guy on the train, not in this image. They're all ear-to-ear grins. No.
All 3 have the same expression, the caterpillar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Nature, basic plus intermediate, 3 images, 3rd place. Christine.
Is she here? We haven't seen her in a long time.
No, I haven't seen her. And she's not on the list.
I love
It's
this.
a great capture.
Yeah, wow.
What?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Nice.
Just returned from to our club.
Yeah.
Great.
That's fantastic.
Welcome back, Christine.
Nice work.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Shot.
2nd place.
Oh,
Helen.
beautiful.
Beautiful image.
Thank you.
You've got quite the talent.
Yep.
Indeed.
I love the colors.
Yeah. And that eye.
Looks so happy.
Big smile. Anthropomorphizing.
Oh, yeah.
Congratulations. First place.
Oh,
Mark.
yeah.
Incredible image.
That is amazing.
Really?
Oh, yeah, Martin. Woo.
Great capture again. Yep.
Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Got a feedback loop.
And by the looks of it, that's a gopher that the male has.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Look at the size of the tail. What was that?
It was big. It was a gopher.
Congratulations. Nature Advanced, one image, first place.
Yay.
Trisha.
Oh, nice, Trisha.
Wow.
That is
Thank
beautiful.
you. This was like about a week or so ago. We were at Gersel Cove in Salt Point State Park. And when we first got on the trail, this guy came up to us and said, "Are you here to see the whales?" And we're like, "Well, yeah." And he said, "I just saw 10 of them moving
Wow.
around in a pod." And so we never saw 10, but we did see 2. So
Wow.
pretty
Fabulous.
fun.
Very neat.
It's beautiful.
First
What
time
a
I've ever
capture.
seen it.
Yeah. And you managed to get the image. That's fabulous.
Mhm. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic.
Congratulations. Nature Masters, 4 images. Honorable mention. Cindy.
Thank
you.
Yeah,
So
that's
cool.
beautiful.
I love this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
Never seen one.
Cara.
Yeah.
And I saw one in South America, but I've never seen one in the United States.
Yeah, there are a lot of wonderful birds in Arizona, but I
Yeah.
love the saguaros in the background too. It's a great image.
Oh, Cindy.
So sharp.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Third place,
Oh,
Gary.
I love
yeah,
that.
this is
yeah.
just a nature walk at Van Dam, with the great grandkids, went camping with the great grandkids and grandkids. So that was just a nice fun outing, and happened to see this little guy and got lucky.
Great shot.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. Second place,
Oh,
Jennifer.
thank you.
Oh,
These bears were so amazing, and it was so interesting to be able to get so close to them and watch them do these things. And that the one who's chasing, we saw him several days, and he was a real troublemaker. I called him ruffian. He was always picking fights and just dominating the whole scene. He was wonderful.
Amazing image. Love
yeah.
it.
Congratulations. First place, Cindy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah.
Whoa.
Thank you again.
That's fabulous.
Yeah.
Great capture.
All right.
They are such amazing looking animals. My goodness.
The eyes run in the family.
The baby looks so much like a dog, a beagle, a dachshund, but then dachshund with those long legs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't remember which culture it's from, but supposedly the myth about the wildebeest is that after the creator finished making all of the other animals, he's like, well, I got all these parts left over.
Yep.
Let's just slap them together, and this is what we got.
There you go. I wonder if it hadn't stood up yet, probably.
It hadn't.
Yeah,
I
no,
have pictures of it when it was trying to stand up and finally stood up.
Oh, wow, that must be cool.
Wow.
Mm.
Next time.
Precious.
Yay.
Congratulations. Pictorial basic plus intermediate for images. Honorable mention, Fritz.
Wow.
Fritz.
Good job.
What a lot of work goes into that, man.
Yeah.
It was, you know,
Runs in the family.
basically what you do is you set your camera up on the deck and let it take shots all night, and then, you know, while you're sleeping. That's basically what you do. And then you have a few hours of computer time.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I agree with the judge about the mountain. I can't, you know, how do you get a picture of a mountain in at night when you're actually trying to adjust daytime pictures? Can't really do it yet.
Well, you know what you could do since it's pictorial? You can composite in a version of it, say one,
But
you know, in the
that is a composite.
what I'm saying,
Ah.
you can composite one picture of the mountain during a time that looks good. Try it at different times and just not have the composite where they're piled together. Then just put in one with it masked with just that one version of the mountain that fits with the picture as a pictorial.
Yeah, I agree. That's my plan, to find a better foreground. But the reason I put that mountain in is to show scale.
Yeah.
And that this nebula, these two nebulas, are the diameter of 4 full moons. These things are huge up there. They're just dim and we can't see them.
Oh.
But our cameras can. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Sure is. Yeah.
I'm saying take the same mountain, just one shot of it, so it doesn't have all this weird look to it. One
Yeah.
shot that looks good with it that you
Yeah.
mask in, so you keep that scale, because this is a beautiful foreground. But if it was taken just with a different lighting and just one shot that worked, it would be. I just like.
Nancy, I'm gonna send you about 20 different options, okay?
He'd probably help you.
Yeah.
Enter it again because it's honorable mention. So you can enter it
Yeah.
as long as it doesn't get first, second, third. So
Yeah, well, I don't, you know, I'd do something else. I mean, with that kind of, I mean, you got to be able to enter this thing, you know, but never mind.
I like the
Okay.
surrealness of it, the way it is.
Yeah, that bright star up in the upper left is Deneb. It's the tail end of Cygnus the Swan, and it's the way this serial software works. It makes it big because it's bright.
Ah. Pretty cool.
Congratulations.
Congratulations,
Third
great.
place,
Oh,
Teresa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
I woke up at 3:30 to get that shot because I had to hike through a forest, scramble up a hill in the darkness to get the shot. And my husband was worried about me going all by myself, so he insisted on going along, but he wasn't in the best of moods.
Well, tell him you got a good place.
Yeah, you suffer for your art.
Yeah, very nice.
you got a moody shot.
Beautiful.
Congratulations. Second
phenomenal.
place, Martin.
All right.
And Martin's on a roll tonight.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
that's sure
awesome.
nice.
I'd
Make
love
sure
to
to
go
pack
there.
your bags up and go.
Well done.
Congratulations to Martin. First place,
Oh,
Stephen.
Oh,
Steven's having a good night too.
yeah.
Yes.
good job, Stephen.
And I agree. You know, usually that kind of a sun would really bug me, but no, not on this image.
Not with the dust in front of it.
Yeah.
It calms
Yeah.
it down just enough.
Really cool.
Congratulations to Stephen. Pictorial Advanced, 2 images. Second place. Ellen.
Great, Ellen.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
beautiful.
you. This one, I just kind of went back to because I've always liked it. But what did bother me about it is her hand being out of focus and her arm. And I tried to sharpen it, but it just looked weird.
Yeah. It tells a great story, you know.
Yeah, it
Look at all the
does.
bracelets and all the jewelry, and look at her fingernails and the way her hands are painted. I mean, that's really cool. Really supports the image. But that's just my opinion. You know?
Yeah, she's really sweet. You know, she posed for me, and she'd just been in this contest where it's kind of like a beauty contest. Plus, they talk about, of course, I didn't understand the language, but they talk about all their talents and all. But yeah, it was a nice moment. Thank you.
Patricia.
Yay.
Yay.
That is beautiful.
Very
Thank you.
interesting.
Yeah.
This is a really old image. I found it because I've had trouble with my computer and I've had to go through a bunch of stuff, and this one just popped up. I went, oh God, I don't think I've ever entered that. But
Wow.
it's an oil and water picture with colored paper underneath.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
So you
yeah.
through glass, you know, you've got that's probably a bowl of some kind.
Yeah.
And I've always loved that image, and I don't know why I've never entered it before, but I'm glad I did. Thanks.
Yay.
There you go.
That's a nice, Trish.
A
Yeah.
good one.
You.
Very nice.
Congratulations. Pictorial Masters, 4 images. Honorable mention, Jennifer.
Wow. Nice.
Thank you. Yeah, this was the mist and the clouds were so wonderful, and the eagles, you know, it's just a fabulous place. It's in Alaska, Lake Clark National Park.
Wow.
Really fun place to be.
Special.
That eagle is just gorgeous.
It's perfectly placed.
Yeah, it was right in front of the cloud. I was so happy. Yeah, yeah, and his wings are just in the right place there. You know, you can see his white head and his all that.
And it
Really
looks like
nice.
he's kind of following along the mist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Third place, Sherry.
Gary.
Oh, thank you.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Tornado Alley.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
That's a
Thanks,
good
Sherry.
scape.
That's a good scape. Yep.
There you
Really
go.
good scape.
You're in
Yes.
it.
So
And that-
colorful.
And that teal color is actually associated with a tornado nearby.
Yeah, it's one of the things that, I mean, it's exaggerated here, but thanks for mentioning that, Steve. It's one of the things that really blew me away, being in the Midwest in tornado season is the color in the clouds. That blue. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've ever been in the Midwest and real stormy, and then it gets real still, and that teal color is very dominant, you better hide.
Yeah, and I love the fence line. That works really nice too. You know, just
Yes.
like you were saying, the leading line and just nice warm colors at the base, and you have all this storm going on, and it's really nice.
Wonderful mood.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Second place, Cindy.
Very, so well done.
Yeah.
Thanks. I also took this while storm chasing, but there weren't any storms when I was chasing.
Barn chasing.
Barn chasing. Looks like a storm had been through there.
Yeah, it's already passed.
Congratulations. First place, Tamara.
Of course.
Amazing image.
No surprise there.
I know.
Beautiful.
Should
Yeah.
we get the drum roll ready?
Powerful.
Images are great.
Congratulations to Tamara.
Fabulous.
And the best image of the evening is
Yeah.
Yep.
Wow. Nice.
Well deserved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Fabulous. Oh, she should be happy.
Yeah.
thank you, Dennis.
Yay, thank you.
Yes,
Yes,
Dennis,
thank you very
loved
much.
loved all of your
Welcome.
feedback,
Thank
all of
you,
your
Dennis.
Yeah.
comments.
Yeah.
Thanks
Really
for letting
good.
me bend your ears. It's always a pleasure. Appreciated it. Always have beautiful images here too. That makes my job easier and harder.
Thanks for sharing about your books too.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, that was
Very
interesting.
Thank you.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye
Good
all.
night. I gotta go
Thank
get
you so
dinner.
much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
All
Thanks
right.
very much.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.